All right, thank you for hopping on to Making Multifamily Money. So this week, I kind of wanted to mix it up a little bit. I know I've been talking a lot about real estate and how to buy it, but I think kind of the first step, where I had to get started was basically saving up for that down payment on getting that first property. And then once you get the first property, everything tends to compound. So, one property leads to the second, leads to the third, leads to the 90th over the span of 9 years or 5 years in my case. So, pretty honored to have Dr. Priscilla on, who was willing to kind of share her journey, as well as, get some advice from me unsolicited on how to kind of save up for a first down payment. So, just kind of thank you, Priscilla, for coming on. Can you kind of just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, so thank you for having me on. My name is Priscilla, and I'm currently a first year resident in internal medicine. I'm originally from Southern California, and I went to medical school in Missouri, and I'm back here, was able to match in Los Angeles. So I'm doing my residency here. Just being like now sort of having my first, I guess, adult real job and being also seeing like my salary as a resident. I just want to be able to be financially more educated and also be able to have I don't have capital or be able to think about things that I could do in the future like real estate to be able to have some income. Yeah.
Great, great. No, congratulations. And matching back in California must have been hard to go to Missouri for a little bit. But just for some context about your background, can you kind of share, I guess, your relationship with money? A lot of it, it's taught from our parents. For me, I grew up in, relatively middle class in the Bay Area, California. But can you just give some context as to, kind of your background with money and I guess your relationship with money as well?
Yeah, so for me, I've also grown up in a middle class background as well. It's definitely taught to always save and be frugal, which is something that is a good habit that I feel like I've been carrying. So I been saving a lot, but trying to get into medical school and also getting having like minimum wage jobs during my gap year, getting then going to medical school, not really working during medical school, and then now just having or my salary for residency. I feel like I've been able to save but not really grow my money, and that's something that I'm really been exploring a lot, especially in the past year, with how I can expand or grow the money that I have. I felt like my bank account has always been like the same for the past 10 years, and I've put it in a savings account, but the interest it doesn't really add as much. So I'm just trying to find, I guess, other opportunities where I can be able to grow that. Luckily, like I was able to apply to a lot of scholarships, and then some of the work that I was able to do even during my gap year, I'm lucky that I'm not in any debt going into residency. So I feel that I can, once I'm out being a full-fledged physician or working, then I can sort of start my life, or a career, debt-free. But I sort of feel like I'm a little bit behind because, it's going to take me about 5 years, or 3 or 4 years until now. And to be able to sort of catch up with people who've been in there, already started working like 10 years ago compared to me.
Yes, I mean, just for some context, I mean, two things you just stated, it's going to set you up for success. I mean, number one is you're a saver, right? And for me, that's what was instilled in me as well growing up. Like, don't, like all my parents knew, Asian parents, all they know is save money. So they taught us to be very frugal. So just having that is amazing because, if you grow up in, I grew up in the Bay Area and now I'm in Southern California. Oh my God, people spend so much money on things, right? Like people make 1/3 of my salary and probably spend double what I spend for some context. So just having that saving mentality, you're already ahead of like, honestly, I'd probably say 90% of most middle class people or most people, I'd say. And then number two is the fact that you didn't have any student loans. I think you were smart about it. Obviously you went to um, scholarships or you worked. I know some physicians where they went to like new medical schools and it was completely free, but they're like the first class. I know a lot of physicians where, they might have to work in a low income rural area for like 4 to 5 years, but they'll cover all your student loans. So there's a lot of strategies that like physicians have access to. Unfortunately, pharmacists, we didn't have access to that. But for some context, like I had $250,000 of student debt. Physicians are double that, I'd say, like probably around 500,000, and the interest rate's around 7.5%. So that's literally probably a mansion in Missouri or an apartment complex in Missouri for some
Yeah.
context. So the fact that you are number one, a saver, number two, student loans, like you shouldn't feel like you're behind, I'd say. Like there's a lot of people in your situation where they're going to come out with a similar salary as you and then be $500,000 in student debt. And then that
Mhm.
because they felt like, it's a resident salary is humble, right? It's around maybe $50,000, $60,000, which
Mhm.
is nothing to sneeze at, but considering, the amount of hours you guys put in for that, it's not that much. So kind of what I tell people is honestly, your spending habits and saving habits are the same regardless if you made $50,000 a year or $500,000 a year. Like honestly, it's exactly the same. That's how I've been. Like whether I
Mhm.
was a college student or a pharmacy school student, till even today as a pharmacy director, obviously my income jumped up big time, but my spending and kind of the way I value things and approach things have been exactly the same. Like I haven't really like changed.
Yeah.
But I did spend, obviously you get out of your system, but after you hit a certain point, you kind of cap out. So
Mhm.
yeah, sorry
And
for
yeah,
that.
that's why I wanted to like reach out to you too, because I know that you said that you were in debt and then, or not in debt, but you had student loans and you were able to, you know, pay them off and then still be able to be successful as you are. And so I've been just, doing a little bit of research, the past year contemplating, but I haven't felt that, or I'm just a little bit nervous to sort of take the leap of faith in the position that I am to be able. So that's why I wanted to reach out and get your advice about how, with my position that I'm in, how I can be able to eventually be in your shoes or.
Yeah, and like for some context, like it took me 4 years out of school, right, just to pay off my student debt to start at zero. So to me, 4 years out of pharmacy school, that's when I hit zero because I had to pay off my crippling student debt, right? But I was still able to save a decent amount of money. But what I would say is, I think so basically, if you take home around 50,000, I'd probably say your take home is around maybe $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Is that fair?
Yes, yeah.
And then, in LA, unfortunately, a one bedroom or two bedroom, it's around $2,000. If
Yeah.
that's fair. So, like, in a way, like, if you take home, let's just say $3,000, or let's just say 4,000 to be a little generous, 2,000 out to rent, that's half your income, 50% of your income to rent, right?
Yeah.
And then now you have $2,000 to live off of, which is pretty humble, I would say. That's what I honestly live off right now. It's about, well, if you exclude my rent, I mean, if you exclude my rent, I live off around $2,000 a month right
Hmm.
now. But the hard part is, well, if you lived off 2,000, you have zero, right? You're basically at zero. So for me, what I did was, obviously your rent is 2,000. I mean, if you have a roommate or multiple roommates, you can obviously shave that in half or a third.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure. Are you currently sharing a roommate or living at home for assistance, or what's, or is your rent around $2,000?
Currently it's around that. And this year I was able to get a roommate who's like my friend, who's also a pharmacist, but she was working in Sherman Oaks and then she recently got accepted to a transfer down in Orange County. So after like this year, I'll be either having to find another roommate or deciding to, you know, pay the 2,000, about $2,000 for my
Yeah,
rent.
yeah.
And
So like,
yeah,
okay, so basically, worst case is $2,000. Best case, you'll say you split it, so you spend 1,000,
yes.
right? So you basically now you cut. If your rent was 2,000 out of $4,000, that's 50%. That's pretty high, but that's typical in California. Let's be honest, right? That
Hmm.
most people spend 50% of their income on rent, And but if you have a roommate, you're down to 25%, and I'd say that's a pretty good margin, right? 25% of your income
Yeah.
for your take home is a great margin, but like you said, it comes with some inconveniences, right? You have to have a roommate, they might leave, you might have conflict, but I think fortunately for doctors, I used to like renting out my rooms to doctors because they're never there.
Yeah.
So they're like never home. So it's like almost like the perfect tenant. They just come home, eat, sleep. I know you get your food at the hospital, so at least your food's provided to you, as part
Yes.
of your
Yeah.
income. For farmers, we didn't have that. If you're a pharmacy resident, we just pay for our own lunch like everyone else. So that cuts in your food, and that's like what breakfast, lunch, and sometimes even dinner, depending on if you're
Mhm.
like on call that weekend, if it's your call weekend. So I think it does save on food quite a bit. So if you kind of factor it in, so let's just say your expense was 1,000, or let's say worst case 2,000, and let's say after that, I mean, what else do you kind of find yourself spending on? I mean, kind of discretionary. Let's just say outside that $2,000 of the remaining 2,000, like what do you spend on typically?
Um, I've actually been trying to be like saving a lot, so I actually don't spend as much as I just put it mostly back into my bank account. And so, but if I do spend, which has been maybe recently in the past couple months since I'm in LA, I'll spend maybe very little, like 10%, because luckily my apartment that I'm at is actually right next to the hospital. So I just
Uh,
walk to the hospital too. So I don't spend money on gas, which is good because of the increase in gas prices. So I mostly do it whenever I drive home to family in Orange County that I have, or if I do want to explore some nice restaurants in LA when I have free time off. So um, usually I mostly spend it on food or dinners and stuff.
okay, so yeah, you basically shaved another expense, right? Gas.
Yes.
The average commute in LA, for some context, is an hour each way, and I'm stuck in that too, right? And I'm spending like $100 a week on, I mean more than that, probably $200 a week on gas. So you can save there. So is it kind of fair to assume maybe like $100 a week, for maybe going out or food?
Yeah, around that.
Okay, so you're let's just make it $500. So basically,
Hmm.
if your rent is 1,500 or 1,000 plus 500 in expense, you can save $2,500 a month. That's
Hmm.
your spend rate, right? And in a year, that's roughly around 24,000, 24 $30,000 if you can keep that
Hmm.
rate. And I mean honestly, that's pretty impressive. I mean, if you could save that much despite your current income, let's say you save, let's be generous here, let's say $25,000 a year. Your residency is it 4 years?
It's 3 years.
3 years? So are you just internal medicine? So are you gonna be a family
Yes.
practice, or are you gonna do like internal med, like physician?
I'm internal medicine. If I do, which I'm thinking about, like doing a fellowship, it could possibly be another 2 to 3 years on top of my training that I'm at now. So it's like, and I would
Oh,
have to like apply. So
oh, is that like cardiology? So you're kind of leading.
yeah, if I like decide, cardiology is a little too competitive for me,
Uh,
but if I decide to do something like that, like cardiology, GI, hemonc, um, rheumatology, then those would be an extra couple years on top of general internal medicine.
yeah. So for some context, like okay, if you just went your current route, didn't do anything extra, like what's a typical salary?
Um,
So like around
from what
250.
I've heard, yeah, so what I've heard from some of my classmates graduating, and most of them are straight getting a job. A couple of them got some fellowships. So the ones that I've heard so far, their offers have been around that range, 250, 300.
Okay. And then, but let's say you were to specialize into something, what will that salary be?
I think it's dependent on the specialty. I've
Okay.
heard from, for example, if I do endocrinology, which is focusing more on diabetes or hormones, apparently their salary is actually less than a general internal
Oh,
medicine, or average salary. But if I do something with more like procedures, like cardiology or GI, that can go up to, um, 400, 500, even, or I don't know, 600. So
got it.
um, so
Yeah.
the sort of like it can go higher as a way. So I hope I can, for me, it's like I would believe if I do a fellowship would be probably, I would hope it would be above 350, hopefully, or as a starting.
Yeah. So why I wanted to ask that was just for context. I mean, if you're making $250,000, your take home is twelve to $15,000 a month, right?
Hmm.
That's roughly. And if and that's just regular internal medicine. If you're specialized and let's say you put in 3 years, you can almost double your income essentially,
Hmm.
right? Which is insane. That's impossible in pharmacy. But if you become a cardiologist or GI, let you can potentially double it, or you're taking home like $30,000 a month, right?
Hmm.
Which these are crazy, crazy numbers. But what I'm trying to allude to is like you can almost save like $25,000 a year for 4 years. That's $100,000, right? And this
Hmm.
you living your current lifestyle, and this is not factoring. I know you get paid more every year you go up, right? Every year that
Hmm.
you progress sooner, you get paid more. So assuming your same spending, minimum you're gonna have after 4 years is $100,000. And I'm not sure where you want to live, but in SoCal, the average single family home, well, assuming things don't go up in 4 years, they kind of stay as they are, it's going to be about $1 million. If you do 10% down, there you go, right? You have a
Yeah.
house. You graduate, you make $250,000. You have $100,000 saved up. You down 10%. You pay a little PMI on that, which is fine. You can get rid of the
Hmm.
PMI for like 2 years. That's what I did. And then you have your house, right? So, and lenders will love you because you were a physician. Like for pharmacists, like if year one, if I made like 100, let's say $50,000, lenders will be like, oh, they consider the fact that I went to school, and then I went to school for pharmacy and then became a pharmacist. That counts towards my loan. So they
Hmm.
like 2 years of like tax returns. But I guess for you, given that you're a resident, you're making money, you have 4 years of tax returns essentially, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it gives you a leg
Okay.
up, is what I'm trying to allude to. Like, let's just say you didn't have to do residency at all for some reason. I know it's impossible in
Hmm.
medical school, but if you just graduated and let's say you made 250,000 out the gate, um, lenders will still like you because as long as you can show a job offer to say, hey, I'm going to make $250,000, even though you have no tax returns prior, because
Hmm.
they would still qualify you, right?
Oh, okay.
But the fact that been getting an income, W-2 income for the past 4 years at least,
Hmm.
you're going to build that track record.
Yeah.
So it'll be even easier, I guess, for you to qualify. So that's basically one strategy I would do is as you make more income. So let's just say you go from $4,000 a month, and let's say by the time you're a P3, or sorry, your third year or fourth year, let's say you're taking home $5,000 a month. At
Yeah.
that point, don't keep your lifestyle exactly the same, and now
Hmm.
you save an extra $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 extra a year, right?
Oh, okay. Hmm.
So that's what I mean by like don't lifestyle inflate at all. And honestly, if you can keep that same spending, even when you're making $250,000 or whatever you're making, and you still spend that same little amount and extend that as long as possible, that's how
Hmm.
I got to where I'm at, where I laid my foundation. I was fortunate where I graduated pharmacy school really young. I was 23 and I was a
Oh,
pharmacist.
wow.
So I had the fortunate of like, I had the college mentality still, right?
Yeah.
So like, I was making, about 150, and I lived like a poor college student. I was fortunate I could live at home. So
Hmm.
basically, I still didn't mind living with my parents. It didn't annoy me yet, right? And then I just was like taking home like $8,000, and my expense was $1,000 a month on just food and meal
Hmm.
to eat. I didn't really
Yeah.
need much money, right? So I was literally saving $7,000 a month, and you times that by like a couple of years, that's how I bought my first couple of properties, right?
Hmm.
But like I'm an extreme example, and I was fortunate to have that situation. But some people don't, and they have to pay rent. But the concept is, whatever it is, just don't lifestyle inflate, right? So even if you're like a physician, yeah, like maybe you could maybe instead of having a roommate, you just can have your own place to rent, but it'll just double you from 1,000 to 2,000. So
Hmm.
that's what I would encourage. But like you said, everyone's situation is different. I was fortunate to do that. At this
Yeah.
point, I don't do it anymore. Like I don't want roommates. I just want my own,
Mhm.
space.
Space.
And
Mhm.
so, does that kind of make sense?
No, yes, definitely. Yeah, because I've been sort of deciding because it's been only a couple months since my roommate moved or is not living with me, and I've been. This is the first time actually ever that I've lived by myself. I always like in medical school, college. I always had roommates and always tried to save. And luckily in Missouri, when I was there, the cost of living was a lot lower. The gas prices were like half of what California was when I first moved. And I wasn't, and then also my tuition, like luckily was actually one of the very few ones at that time to be like below 50K a year. So I just was able to like save a lot of money and also with scholarships too. And so so I was able, I feel fortunate in that aspect. And sometimes, especially being a first year resident and seeing like, my other colleagues and, third years are getting offers and
Yeah.
some of them like are buying some nice things already, and there's things that I want to be able to like lifestyle inflate, but I try to be practical with the amount I have and want to make sure that when it's time, especially with the housing market, that I get nervous about like, will I have enough to save for that time when I'm ready and like have a more settled a position or area that I want to live, which I most likely want to stay in Southern California or particularly Orange County. Like, will I be able to put that, for example, like you said, down payment on a house or on a car, a brand new car, or et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I know what you mean. Like, when I graduated pharmacy school, everyone, like all pharmacists drive Tesla. Everyone drives a Tesla now. In the Bay Area, everyone drove a Tesla like years ago. But I think SoCal is like finally catching up. And literally, just for some context, every pharmacist that reports to me has a nicer car than me. I've I've driven the same car since pharmacy school, believe it or not. And I graduated
Mhm.
like 20 years ago. Right.
Oh,
And
wow.
I will say that honestly, like my dream car was an Audi R8. That's
That
my
was
dream.
actually my dream car for a very long
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I don't know why. Maybe I just thought it was like freaking cool, or maybe because I watched Iron Man and I saw it.
Mhm.
But to me, like I have the point where I have enough money in my bank account where I can buy it cash right now if I want to. Once you
Oh,
hit that
wow.
point, like you don't even want it anymore. Like,
Mhm.
it's like it doesn't bring you any happiness. Like it's just this material thing, right? So I
Mhm.
really detached my identity from these material things. Like I used to think that, oh, I need to have a nice car. I need to show that I'm successful. A lot of doctors drive the Porsche Cayennes. I don't know why. All the guy
Mhm.
doctors drive Porsche Cayennes.
Mhm.
And but if you can just delay that, I'm not saying not to get it, but if you can delay that urge and buy assets like real estate,
Mhm.
eventually that real estate will pay for these liabilities,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So that's what I had to kind of gear myself to. And don't get me wrong, like when I graduated, I bought like new clothes, all this stuff. But then after a while, I'm just like, oh my God, it doesn't make me any happier. I'm not any happier. Like I'll buy something new, I'll wear it like one time, I feel good for a day, and after that, I forget about it. You know,
Mhm.
that, that's how I feel. It may not feel that way to you yet because you haven't made the full money yet, but trust me, give it 1 or 2 years, you feel like you buy everything you need to buy. And after a while, like, are you just buying it just to impress other people and get validation or to feel rich? Or would you rather, like for me, I was like, well, if I spend something to try to impress someone I don't even care about, I'd rather buy real estate, which can retire me so I don't have to work so I can do what I want when I want. Right.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
basically my why as to
Mhm.
why I started doing it. So, once you understand that, and like I said, I spent the first 4 years spending a lot of money too. I feel like a baller. I was living at home and taking home 8K, right?
Mhm.
And not much expenses, and I can buy whatever I want. And it feels
Mhm.
good, but after you've done it for X amount of time, it doesn't feel that much after a while, it doesn't feel good. So because to me, it's lifestyle creep, right? Oh, I'm just gonna buy this car here. Oh, well, if I have a new car, I need a new watch. If I have a new watch, I need some new outfit, I need a purse, right?
Yeah.
You move up, Chanel bag, Gucci, whatever, it stacks up, stacks up, stacks up. And it's hard, right? Like once you're so used to buying it, like you're going to buy more. It's a slippery
Yeah.
slope, right? Just like with
Mhm.
real estate. When I buy one, I have 90 now. I just got addicted to buying real estate.
Mhm.
So, I definitely, like you said, even on your track, like of saving $25,000 a month, a year, you can get $1 million home, starter home, and you can
Mhm.
get like a 3, 4 bedroom house. And then I don't know your situation, but what I did was I lived in the master bedroom. I'd rent out a couple rooms and it helped cover my mortgage. Right. So my mortgage was like $3,000 a month. I rented out 3 rooms. I got 3,000. I lived in the master bedroom, and I think I just had to pay property tax, insurance, utilities, which is $1,500 a month. But I'm
Oh.
paying myself, right? Because I
Mhm.
own property. So I was able to do that for a while, and it saved up, right? Like my income skyrocketed $10,000 a month take home. My living
Mhm.
expense was 1,500, and now I was saving like 8,500 a month, right?
Oh, wow. Mhm.
So like I said, you can do the same concept where you can literally buy a house, just be humble, whatever. If you're near a hospital, you can rent out to the residents, right?
Mhm.
Whatever the residents underneath you, and then they would pay your mortgage essentially, and then you can live in the master if you can. But that's if you can afford to like delay it, right? I don't know
Yeah.
everyone's situation, but if you can do it, I definitely encourage it. And then if
Mhm.
you want your own privacy, whatever next phase of your life, then you just kick them out, and then you have the whole house to yourself, and you
Yeah.
do whatever you want with it. But at least you get some income, with that. So
Oh,
yeah, does that make sense? Any questions?
no, that's a great idea that I didn't think about. So that would be something that I would definitely consider and incorporate when the time is, I guess, ready for me when I um, graduate as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, like I don't even know like anybody, any physician. Like I know a lot of physicians, I'll be honest,
Mhm.
and they make $500,000 a year, and they're still like renting and living paycheck to paycheck because they're taking home whatever $20,000 a month, but they're spending $20,000 a month.
Uh-huh. Oh,
So
yeah.
you're essentially taking home zero, right?
Mhm.
So you're actually building more wealth than they are, but they're living more extravagantly, right? I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
spending 20K a month is nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of money, but it just depends like what your goal is, right? And a lot of physicians and pharmacists, um, is that like they just kind of want that lavish lifestyle, and I don't blame them. I mean, we work hard, right? It's a long
Mhm.
program, especially yours. Doctor degree, we deferred our whole lives, and when we graduate, we just want to go crazy,
Yeah.
have all the things that we always see people buy and never had. But the longer you can delay it, the
Mhm.
more wealth you can build.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of what's your trade-off that you're willing to do, right? If
Mhm.
you don't mind working for the rest of your life, then you don't have to go as fast.
Yeah.
For me, I'm trying to retire. My initial goal is 35. I don't think I'm gonna hit that, but 40, it's probably
Mhm.
realistic. If that's the
Oh,
goal,
wow.
then I need to basically live like a poor college student until then and invest in real estate and live very humbly, and
Mhm.
yeah, and work a full-time job and manage a real estate portfolio and
Mhm.
have no fun. It's not fun. It's not easy either. It's hard. It's hard work,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? It's not harder than medical school or pharmacy school, but it's still like long hours.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
in a weird way, if you can do these like crazy hours of residency, honestly, doing real estate is easy once you learn the system and the process, right?
Mhm.
So like the fact that you can graduate with $100,000 saved up, honestly, you can get 10% down. Whenever you're ready, my aunt does loans for US Bank. She's like a producer. She got two of my properties.
Oh.
10% down, right? I have a house in Orange County
Mhm.
as well that I bought. And 10% down, 100,000 in. If you can rent out a room or two, to some residents, you can do travel nurses. They pay a lot for a room.
Mhm.
Um, if you can do that for a little bit and they don't inconvenience you. So what I pick people who are never there, right?
Oh.
Maybe pick a resident who's never there. Pick a nurse who works night shift only. So you're reverse schedule.
Mhm.
You never see the nurse there, right?
Mhm.
There's many strategies you can do to get that extra income. And then, when you're making the full wage. Try not to lifestyle inflate too much. If you can keep the same car, it still works. You know, gets you to point A, point B.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like for me, I know like if I didn't my Audi already hit a curb, I'd feel so bad. I'd feel so shitty about myself. If I hit my
Yeah.
curb right now, I don't care. It's like whatever. You
Mhm.
know? And yeah, and it's just kind of like what people don't think about too is like if I have an Audi R8 and I got in a car accident versus if I had a Toyota Camry and I got in a car accident, who do you think they want to sue?
The Audi.
Yeah, the guy who's driving the Audi, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I like if you saw me walking down the street, you wouldn't assume I own any units of real estate. I just I just look no, I that's intentional because
Yeah.
I don't want people to know because I just want to seem like a college student. Like
Yes,
he
yeah.
has no money, and I do that very intentionally. It's actually strategic of me because I don't want people to know
Mhm.
on the street. I do talk about on social media. So if you can do that, and then even on top of that, with physicians, you have some loan options out there where you get let's lower down, maybe even lower than 10%. But I recommend at least 10% down, so your monthly payment is okay. When I bought it, I got a 3% interest rate, but right now it's probably like double that.
Yeah.
Whatever you marry the purchase price of the property, and you can always refinance your loans later, right? If you get a 6, 7% loan in 5 years, you just refinance it, and maybe it'll be like 4.
Okay.
So don't get fixated on the interest rate, right? Just I call it you marry the purchase price, you're dating the interest rate.
Okay.
Dating is
Mhm.
like temporary, right? But you're
Mhm.
married to the purchase price.
Yeah.
So
It's mid-
no, I always tell people like honestly, people are like, oh, I don't want to wait for the. I had people who I started investing in 2017. They wanted to invest the same time as me. Fast forward to
Mhm.
2023, I own 90 units. They still don't own real estate at all. They just talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I'm like worried for me too. Is like I've been sort of thinking about it. I just haven't made like the leap of faith, or I feel like I also don't like. Well, right now in my position, like I don't have the capital yet, or like enough funding. So I just want to be sure, like, or not be sure, but like be ready when I like you said, I didn't think about like how could I save after I graduate. So I appreciate that you were saying that how much I'm saving during residency. It can definitely if after 4 years I get a job, I can be able to purchase a house with the savings that I have and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And like for context, like it took me 4 years out of farm school working just to pay off my loans, and then I got a house. So I mean, like you're
mhm,
still on the same track record as someone like me who owns 90 units,
mhm,
right? So like literally, you would say $100,000. Now you're making $250,000 plus.
mhm,
You're gravy. And if you're willing to live humble for another 5 years, I mean, honestly, you can probably get to where I'm at.
mhm,
You know, you can own a real estate rental if you want to, or if you don't, it's fine. But like, if that's your goal, like honestly, you could be in the same trajectory as me, like the same exact path I went on. I basically what I did was I did 10% down, lived in the house for a year, and after a year, I bought another house 10% down, and I moved to that house, and I would rent out the rooms. I did that 3 times,
mhm. Oh
right?
wow.
Yeah,
Mhm,
because where else can you get house 10% down? And then these houses appreciate like crazy. Like the house I got in Orange County was like 750K. Now it's worth over 1 million. It's been 2 years,
mhm.
right?
Oh wow.
So
Mhm,
like, it's like you can keep on doing that. Like, okay, I'm gonna buy this house, and then like, whatever, rent out a couple rooms here and there. You're making 250. You save that money, and you save that money for a year. You can buy another house, like
mhm,
10% down another year, maybe even 20% down. Then you can buy another house. If you can do that for a couple years in Orange County or wherever you want to be, at that point you're good. I mean, you have more property than most people, right?
yes. Yeah.
And that's
Mhm,
very natural. That's not even you like trying. Like that's just
mhm,
organically just doing it. It's not even effort,
mhm,
right? If you put in effort, then you can, we want to do apartments like what I did, then that's how you can get to where I'm at. Just get 2 apartment complexes and get there. So honestly, like I don't really see an issue as long as you can keep this humble trajectory. And I will tell you, it's gonna suck. You're gonna see people buying nice things, go on nice
yeah.
vacations.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, yeah, I feel like I already see like especially like in LA and everybody wants to follow stuff like there's like I don't know if you've heard of like Erewhon. That's like a really nice
Oh yeah.
higher thing than like Whole Foods, and every like a lot of people have been buying that or buying their groceries with that. And I'm still like, I feel like I'm, even though I'm saving a lot, I feel like I'm still like, I feel like I'm struggling a little bit, because I don't have a lot of funding, or I see my bank account, I get a little bit sad, and they're like, wait, like, how are you so frugal and like saving so much? Like, we barely see you spend. And I'm just like always in the mentality, like, I want to save up so I can hopefully in the future be able to, like purchase a my own home, and also like expand my real estate. I hope I can get to, or I guess I wanted to ask you, like, how did you jump from owning like the single family homes up and then started to, or think about doing like apartments and now like a 90 unit? And how is managing that? Is that like easy, or how would you say if it's like easier or harder than managing like your single family homes?
Yeah, so for me, I self-manage my single family homes. I own 5 in California, that I just house hacked over 5 years. So it's not too bad. I mean, fortunately in California, I mean, the purchase price, it's about in the Bay Area, it's $1.5 million for a single family home. In LA, it's probably like a million.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in West LA, yeah, it's a little, or you're by Newport Beach and all that, it's a little more expensive. But I'm talking about your normal like LA or like normal Orange County, not by the coast. Um, but what's nice about California is there's always a renter demand. But the only issue that I have with California is it's more of an appreciation market, not much of a cash flow market.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, most of my single family homes just break even at best. And keep in mind, when you hire a property manager, they take 10% of the rent. So if I had a property manager, I'd be negative, cash flow negative on the property,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like for example, my OC house, I down 10%, I get $3,700 a month, and my total expense is $3,900 a month. So I'm actually
Oh.
negative $200 a month, and that doesn't include any repairs. So if I have to
Mm-hmm.
make like let's say $2,000 worth of repairs, I'm also negative $2,000 on top of that, right? But I can take that hit because I still work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then obviously you too, right? You're gonna making great money as a physician. You can take that hit. But the only issue is if I own 10 of those properties, I can't take 10 of those hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in California, like for some context, my first single family home I bought is worth $500,000 more than what I bought it for in the Bay
Mm-hmm.
Area, right? So it goes up by like $100,000 a year. I mean, it's slowing down now in
Mm-hmm.
2023. It went up. So I have a lot of equity that built up, but no cash flow. So equity builds long-term wealth. It doesn't retire me from my day job. Cash
Uh-huh.
flow can retire you from your day job. So I just
Okay.
thought, well, okay, I own a bunch of single family homes in California with high equity. I want to diversify. So I just started looking at apartment complexes in Oklahoma. That's where I invest. And I have a mobile home park in Alabama, but I just thought, wait, I got a 26 unit apartment complex for $500,000. A 26 unit apartment. Each unit rents out for around, I think, $500 each. So times
Oh.
26, that's $13,000 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus for $500,000 in California, that's gonna get you a condo,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll live in the condo, or if you rent out the condo, the most rent you can get is maybe 2,500. That's not even enough to break even.
Yeah.
You'll be negative $1,000, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, well, okay, it's cheaper out of state. I own more units, right? So if one tenant leaves, I still have 25 other tenants paying me.
Yeah.
For single family, if someone's living in there, you get money. If someone's not living there, you lose money,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then with apartments, the value of the apartment is based on the income. So you can raise the income, it actually raises the value of the apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
So that's called forced appreciation. Versus single family homes, they don't care how much rent you get. It's worth what the neighbor's house sells for.
Okay.
So the example I love to use, and you're smart, I'm not sure if you watch my other content, but basically, if you have two single family homes right next to each other, and one rents for 5,000 a month, and one rents for 10,000 a month, and you go to sell it, they sell at the same price because
Mm-hmm.
the value is based on the sales comps, which is your neighboring properties.
Okay.
But with apartments, take that same example. I have one apartment that gets 5,000 a month. The apartment next door gets $10,000 a month. The one that gets 10,000 is worth double,
Oh.
right? Once you understand that concept, that's when I said I'm not going to do single family home anymore. I'm
Mhm.
switching to apartments because I could buy an apartment complex, right? I can renovate. So what I'm doing is I bought my 26 unit apartment complex. The rent was 350 on
Mhm.
average, but I know the market rent is $700, which is double, right?
Okay.
But I have to renovate the units to get that double rent.
Mhm.
So it's going to cost me $10,000 to renovate these one bedroom, one bath apartment complexes.
Mhm.
And after I do that, I can double the rent from 350 to 700.
Mhm.
If I can do that for all 26 units, I just doubled my income. I just doubled the value of the apartment complex.
Oh, wow.
So I bought it for $500,000. It valued at $750,000 day one because I bought it right.
Mhm.
When I'm done doubling the rent, it's gonna be worth 1.5 million.
Oh, wow.
So I just forced around 700, about $1 million, or about $750,000 of equity,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? So now that the value of the apartment went up so much, I can then do something called a cash out refinance. So I do so let's say now it's worth 1.5 million, and I do let's just I do 80 or 75% cash out refinance. So I get a new loan at 75% of the new value, and I
Uh-huh.
get money tax free. I pay off my old loan, and the rest of the money I keep tax free in my pocket.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, I don't know how to do the math, but that's at least a $500,000 tax free in my pocket,
Mhm.
right? And half a million tax free take home is equivalent to making $1 million a year. This is 50%. If you make $1 million a year as an orthopedic surgeon that my friend's doing, take home is half a mil after
Mhm.
tax. So that's equivalent to doing that, right? So,
Oh, wow.
and it takes you like 3 years to do that. It's not easy. It takes
Mhm.
years to get there. And, I have to have a property manager, and I basically have to, be negative cash flow, pay for renovations for like 3 years to get there. But once you get there, you would have pulled out half a million tax free. Now your units are all renovated, stabilized, good tenants. You're getting $700 a month times 26 units.
Mhm.
And then you take that half mil and you go buy another apartment complex. That's how you scale. So, that's basically what I'm doing. Um,
Oh,
and what's nice about California is I could actually choose to sell one of my California single family homes. I have
mhm.
$500,000 of equity in one of my single family homes in California. I could sell that, but the moment you sell it, you have to pay taxes on the gains, right?
Oh, mhm.
Right. So if I make $500,000, I have to pay tax on $500,000 on top of my income that I make as a pharmacist or pharmacy director.
Oh, wow.
What good investors do is they do something called a 1031 exchange. So they sell it, and then they take that money and have to use that half a million to buy a bigger apartment complex, for example. And then you defer your capital gains tax. So
Oh.
that's a more advanced strategy, right?
Mhm.
So that's how you get richer, right? It's like play Monopoly. You buy four greenhouses, and you get upgrade to a hotel. It's like the same concept.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like you said, you could literally, let's just say you finish in 4 years, you buy a house 10% down for $1 million. 10 years later, it's worth $1.5 million. You decide, you know what, I want to buy a nicer, whatever. I want to sell that property. You can take that $500,000 and go buy a $2 million apartment complex, some in a different state, and then
Mhm.
1031 exchange it, and then now that one is going to get you more cash flow. Then you raise the rent, and now the value of the apartment complex goes from 2 million to 4 million. You do cash out refinance, you pull all
Mhm.
your money tax free. That's how you snowball wealth, right? So that's how people become rich through real estate, and it takes about
Oh.
10 years of hardcore investing to even get there, right?
Mhm.
So you may be asking, like, you own 90 units, why are you still working, right? If I told you I own 90 units of real estate, you're going to assume I'm not working and I'm rich and I'm on a yacht driving an R8 onto my yacht, right? But it takes like 3 years to stabilize an apartment complex. I'm on year
Mhm.
1.5, I think. And my mobile home park takes like 5 years to stabilize,
Yeah.
you know. But at this point, you know, like, so that's why I'm still working because I need to bring in that income to afford
Mhm.
these renovations and to give me peace of mind that I'm making money still.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that's the advantage that we have. So, you know, kind of more of the story, I self-manage my single family homes, and then I have a property managers for my apartment complexes in Oklahoma. So, you know, I just talk to my property manager like once a week. Or if they need to talk to me sooner, then I'm usually available. But you have to be comfortable with delegation and building
Mhm.
systems and processes, and you have to have stress tolerance because it's really stressful. I
Mhm.
mean, to be working full time plus managing real estate, and imagine writing. So for context, my mobile home park, I spent $500,000 to fix it up in a year.
Mhm.
So you're writing 50, $60,000 checks every month,
Oh, wow.
more money than we've ever had in our entire lives,
Mhm.
right? Even though the money's set aside, the psychology of, can you imagine writing a $60,000 check every month when that's like probably, you know, the whole take home income of most people, or gross income
Yeah.
of most people.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah, and in my position too, I'm like, I can't even that's like what I take home like a whole year.
yeah,
So,
and that's gross. That's not even including taxes, right? That's just
yeah.
gross. So imagine writing that check every single month for like a year. Like it messes with you, no matter how much you prepared for it. So
Yeah.
it requires stress tolerance, and it's lonely. Like I can't really ask people for help because I'm totally unrelatable,
Mhm.
right? Like most people, you know, around our age, they're just trying to save for their forever home,
Yeah.
right? That's what we're all hearing. Whatever forever home. How relatable would it be if I'm like, oh, I own 90 units? They're just gonna be like, oh, you're cocky, you're arrogant,
Mhm.
you're trying to show off, you make me feel bad about myself. So it's like lonely. It's lonely,
Yeah.
really lonely. Um, you know, to get there. So, does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Cause yeah, I know like a lot of or a few people, like I didn't know like, whether I should start off with, am I able to afford a home or should I start off with like apartment units? Like what can I do? Like what are the pros and cons? So definitely that helped me or clarify and also give me a different mind or perspective on that.
Yeah. So like, there's so many like options, and like let's just say that like, you know, whatever another scenario would be like, okay, I don't want a single family. Like I'm still renting in LA, right? Because it just makes sense for me to rent right now because I want my
Hmm.
own space and I don't want to like commit to $1 million house with like a 6,000 mortgage,
Hmm.
right? So it actually makes sense for me to rent, and I bought out of state first,
Yeah.
you know, and that's fine too, right? The key is just to get started, but I get it, it's intimidating as hell to like
Hmm.
try to buy something out of state. Like I bought in Oklahoma, Alabama. I never even been there. I never even been to Oklahoma, Alabama until I bought real estate there.
Yeah.
So, you know, and but eventually once those values go up, I can pull out the money and then buy in California,
Hmm.
right? It'd be easy for me. I know the area. I know Orange County. I know the Bay Area,
Yeah.
but I can't afford it yet, right? Like a 60 unit apartment complex in the Bay Area, like Hayward, San Leandro, I saw online, it's like 18 million. That's
Hmm.
not terrible, but that means I need $5, $6 million down.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have that yet, but maybe in like 10, 20 years,
Hmm.
potentially, you know, I may. Um, so yeah, it is possible. So, you know, based on your trajectory, I think it's pretty much locked that you can get a single family home in Orange County or LA, 10% down. Like I think that's not even a question. It doesn't matter if you actually execute it.
Yeah. Hmm.
You know, and just know that when you find your first house, like every time I looked for a house, regardless of the market, like I bought two houses during the hottest market of COVID and low interest rates. And how I did it was I just made a bunch of offers. I made like at least 40 offers on houses.
Hmm.
For some context, I'm not fixated on like, oh, I want my dream forever house has to be perfect. Cause sometimes like it may not even happen, right? Like maybe you buy your house and maybe you get a job opportunity somewhere else and you have to leave and
Yeah.
sell the house, right? So don't be fixated on like this forever house. Like
Hmm.
you never know where life takes you in like 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
just get a house that you like, that, you know, it's not going to be perfect. It never is, right? You can never find your truly perfect house. Um, and yeah, and buy it. So, and like I said, if you can just extend your spending while you're
Hmm.
making that real physician salary for as
Hmm.
long as possible, like, I've done it for like 10 years for context.
Hmm.
And it laid me such a strong financial foundation where I can finally be like, maybe I can slightly lifestyle inflate if I want to. And for me, it was just getting my own place. That was my lifestyle inflation. And if I go on vacation, I don't give myself a budget, but at the same time, like if I have an option of like a $500 a day hotel
Hmm.
versus a hotel that's like 3 blocks down, that's like 100 a night, then I'm gonna go to the one that's
100.
100 a night. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not, because when I travel, I'm not gonna be in the hotel,
Hmm.
right? So once you can kind of think that way, I think you think that way naturally if you're a
Yeah.
saver. And like I just booked the flights to the Philippines. I use all my points to do it for me,
Hmm.
right? So there's ways to do it, be judicious about it, but you just have to know like where you can spend and where you don't spend. So like, and like what brings you actual value, right?
Hmm.
Like I just say from experience, like even I hit the point where like honestly, I when I bought my apartment, I was only happy with my first apartment complex. When I got my second and then my mobile home park, I felt exactly the same.
Hmm.
Like I feel exactly the same. Like, like um because I still have to work like everyone else.
Yeah.
I still live humbly. Like my lifestyle hasn't improved at all, but I own 90 units of real estate. But maybe in 5 years when it's stabilized and I'm done with those units, yeah, maybe I could like, maybe leave my day job or keep my day job and lifestyle inflate.
Hmm.
So it's just really having the control and the options. That's what really appealed me with
Hmm.
like real estate. It's just like options and control. And that's what I want, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
So um yeah. Any other questions, Priscilla?
I guess I have one more, which is, you being a pharmacy director and then owning all these real estate and then talking about how you like, talking so far about like life, either keeping your day job and lifestyle inflating, or how do you, I like, for me, I know I'm working as a resident like lots of hours, but I know that when I'm, even as a physician, I'm still going to be working about the same hours as you. So how did you balance, your day job, while almost like having, this really great real estate portfolio, and balancing that out without feeling like burnout, still having a life, going out to like, hang out with friends, family, enjoying, a nice dinner or so. So how do you balance it all out and not feel stressed and burned out from
Oh, great question. For context, I am stressed and burnt out.
it?
So I
I mean,
actually
same too. That's
I started these sessions as therapy for myself
oh wow.
and just in a joking way, but I also want to like I think make it a little bit more realistic for people.
Hmm.
And by teaching people it helps me. We went through layered learning, right? You're learning from a P2, and a P2 is
Hmm.
learning from a P3, and a P3 is learning from a P4, right?
Hmm.
Like I went through the same model, and same thing like real estate. Like you can learn from someone like me who's one step. I may seem intimidating, but I'm essentially like maybe I mean it's nothing but I'm like maybe 8 years ahead of you, right?
Hmm.
Like 4 years to get the first house, and after that another 4 years to get the 90 units.
Hmm.
So for me, the time management, fortunately, as a pharmacy director, it's more of a desk-based job.
Hmm.
I know physicians, you get to see certain patients, but I know their schedule is pretty flexible for the most part. But like,
Hmm.
sometimes if I had to step out for a little bit to like make a call to my property manager, fortunately they were in East Coast time zone or Central time, so they're 2 hours ahead. So like, if it's like 7 a.m. here, it might be like 9 or 10 there. So I can still
Hmm.
call them in the morning, call them at night. I communicate a lot via email. So
Hmm.
sometimes, like, if the property manager texts me or emails me, I just can quickly respond. It's a quick response, or worst case, I just call them. It takes 5, 10 minutes to kind of resolve that issue.
Mhm.
But it's just like constantly putting out fires. And like as healthcare professionals, like it translates very well because, okay, number one, I mean, physicians, you guys actually take care of patients like directly. I'm kind of behind the scenes in the basement usually,
Mhm.
where pharmacists belong. Um, and like for pharmacists, we're very systems oriented, very
Mhm.
detail oriented. And then for physicians, you're definitely, systems process oriented, and then you take care of patients. So it's a relationship based business,
Yeah.
right? You're taking care and then that translates very well to real estate because you're property managers, general contractors, trying to talk to owners to get deals, talk to brokers to get deals. It's all human relationships,
Mhm.
right? And then when you can flex a doctor title, oh man, you build so much trust, right? Dr. Priscilla.
Mhm. Yes.
Once you say that, they take you so much more seriously. They assume you're higher status. They assume you're rich. A lot of people don't know pharmacists we're technically doctors too. No one calls us doctors, but if I'm talking to like brokers or when I'm going off market to find deals, I say I'm Dr. New Win,
Mhm.
and they treat me with such higher respect,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? Like I'll flex my title when I need to. Other than that, I don't care. So, so just like the way I kind of phrase it is like, if you break down your day, so I'm really efficient. I'd say I'm probably like top 1% in terms of efficiency for context, but you have a 24-hour day, right? 8 hours I sleep. That's generous. I'm generous to myself. I sleep 8 hours a day, right? So I have 16 hours a day. Between my
Yeah.
job and my commute, that's 10 hours gone. And let's say
Mhm.
11 hours, including random transit time. So that's 5 hours a day I have after work
Mhm.
of waking hours. And let's just say three are like whatever, dinner, whatever. I have 2 hours left in the day. Those 2 hours are when I do my real estate. And if you take those 2 hours times 7 days, right? Or 5 days, that's 10 hours extra a week. That's an extra working day
Mhm.
that's allocated towards real estate. And I usually get up either Saturday or Sunday. Unfortunately, that's another full day. So I have basically 2 full days I'm doing real estate. But the real estate's only busy in the beginning when you buy the property. Like when you first buy the property and you're doing the due diligence, the inspections, the loans. And then when you take over the property, it's stressful for the first month. But after that, at this point, to be honest, I probably spend between all my 90 units and I'm renovating. For context, I renovated 40 units last year.
Uh-huh. Oh
40
wow.
units last year while working full time. And my average time spent was maybe an hour a week
Oh wow.
because at
That's,
this point, it's more stable and I know what I'm doing,
yeah. Mhm.
right? But in the beginning, when I first bought the property and I'm under contract, I might have to put like 3, 4 hours in that day. And you have to be very timely. If the bank's asking for documents, you need to give them documents. If your property manager say, "Hey, Steven, I sent you a bid. Can you approve the bid?" You better review the bid. If you have questions, talk to the property manager or the contractor. And then from there, you got to make quick decisions, right?
Mhm.
Luckily, and as a physician, as a pharmacist, we make quick decisions.
Yeah.
Normal, right? You get data points and we make decisions. So it translates very well.
Mhm.
Translates very well. You know, like for you, you look at the vitals, the labs, the symptoms, you make a
Yeah.
diagnosis, and then from there, you make the drug treatment.
Mhm.
So it's if you're already doing it and you're training it for 4 years or even longer, 4 years med school plus 4 years residency, that's 8 years of you train your decision making. It's going to translate so well to real estate. What I encourage is listen to a lot of real estate podcasts. Bigger Pockets where I started.
Uh-huh.
I'm biased, but I think my content's better.
Mhm.
Listen to like my content or any real estate content that is while you're in this 4 year period,
Mhm.
while you're saving, because you can't buy anything, right? Like you can't. You're just saving and trying to become a great physician, right?
Yeah.
If you're on call, if you have an hour break, just pop in some headphones, AirPods, whatever, listen to podcasts, just consume content, and just learn as much as you can, right?
Mhm.
That's what I would do. Um, or you can pay for like mentorship courses, whatever that is. Depends on your style. I mean, I have one, but honestly, my what I teach right now, it's like I basically, if you watch on my YouTube videos, I teach most of the course. The only difference is the course is just more structured. It goes in
Mhm.
order, right? Versus right now, I'm just talking off the top of my head. So it just really, once you get to a certain level, you either pay, people pay in one or two ways, either time or money. So
Mhm.
when you don't have money, you pay in time. That's where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Because you don't have money, you're paying in time. So
Mhm.
you're gonna use your time to learn real estate if you want to get
Mhm.
to around where I'm getting, or to get to my level. Or if you're a physician and you made it and you have the money, you can pay someone to, like, oh, I just want to invest in your apartment complex deal. And then because you have the money, you don't need the time.
Mhm.
So it just really depends on what your goals are, right? So but you pay off in one or two ways, but right now you have no choice. You have to pay in time, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, you can learn a lot in like 4 years. Like,
Mhm.
you consume, for me, for context, I listen to like one podcast a day. And I did that for like 3 years,
Mhm.
right? Like, how do you, like, in pharmacy school, medical school, they don't teach you how to manage your finances. I
Yeah.
never was taught, right? Teachers can't teach you how to manage your finance because they're probably terrible at it too, right? Like, most
Mhm.
people are terrible at their finances. So like a lot of physicians I know are terrible, but I'm like, you're not willing to put in the effort to learn how to manage your finances,
Yeah.
right? Like, you've probably spent more time than like a radiologist I know who makes $500,000 a year. And like, to him, once he thinks about money, he's just stressed. He ignores it, but he's blowing like $7,000 a month to rent a house.
Mhm.
And it's like, dude, you're taking home like, I don't know, 20,000 plus.
Yeah.
How can you not own a house, right? It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me. Um, so yeah, just get educated. Like, we're fortunate. We're like, we don't have to do anything. We're guaranteed upper middle class lifestyle,
Mhm.
right? But if you self educate yourself, that's how you build, like, you're in that 1%, top 1%. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'd recommend, like, right now. And like you said, create a plan, stick to it.
Mhm.
Um, and just remind yourself when people are flexing and buying nice things, why you're living this certain way, and don't get caught up in all the comparison.
Yeah.
um it gets annoying. Unfortunately, you do, I will say from experience, like, building this amount of wealth, you do lose friends along the way. um
Mhm.
People get jealous of your success. People aren't truly happy for you. They don't care about what you've done. They just,
Mhm.
about how it makes them feel and how it makes them feel bad about themselves,
Mhm.
right? And that's just common, and that's just how it is, unfortunately. And that's why I'm very low key outside of this platform about my
Yeah.
real estate portfolio. Unless people like my pharmacists find my social media, they're like, oh, he owns that much real estate.
Mhm.
But if that, other than that, they just know I rent.
Mhm.
I just rent, and that's relatable. So, um, like, that's kind of the path to building love. Is not glamorous at all. But then if you can bite the bullet for like 10 years, 15 years,
Mhm.
at that point you can, you'll always see those people, like, oh, like especially in Orange County, those are all rich real estate people on their yachts. I guarantee if you see like 10 yachts, half of them have that yacht due to real estate,
Mhm.
probably. So yeah, if you can, like, delay that gratification and continue to learn, and basically detach yourself from like material goods to a certain extent, um, that's how you find like like true happiness, I'd say. Because I will
Mhm.
say, people, they spend so much money and they're never happy. Like, I see people spend so much money, they're not happy at all. They
Mhm.
can buy a new thing, they can go on a fancy thing, and I know people who make your income and they spend more. They spend like triple what I spend.
Yeah.
They make 50K
Mhm.
a year, and that's SoCal, right?
Mhm.
Getting their $15 avocado toast.
Yeah.
Um, so it just depends, like, what you value. And yeah, the journey, but it's lonely. It's
Mhm.
definitely, no one will relate to you. And even my parents were like, why you buy so much real estate? Loan debt is bad.
Mhm.
Why debt?
Yeah, that's the mentality like my family or I was raised into too. And like I thank you so much for, giving me sort like realistic ad things that I could do, right now while I'm preparing um, to hopefully be in your shoes soon or, being able when I'm being able to like get an average physician salary. Cause I felt like even though like, yeah, am saving a lot, is it, is it worth it that, I'm saving up, $1,000 to $2,000 a month? But like you put it into perspective that, like, if I do this every month for 4 years, I can, it will eventually be worth something, like being able to purchase something on my own.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like if you could, like I said, you just stick to it every month,
Hmm.
save 1 to 2,000, and in 4 years, I guarantee you can buy a house 10% down minimum, right?
Hmm.
That's guaranteed, and without student loans. So
Hmm.
like I said, that situation is like you're probably like top 1% of all physicians just being able to do that, and like
Hmm.
your situation is no different than any of your peers, right?
Hmm.
But they'll 99% of them will think it's impossible. So I guess to kind of wrap up, I kind of want, I guess, what action steps are you going to take, I guess, from this session? I guess moving forward.
So for me, I definitely like keep where I'm at. And, I've been sort of conflicting whether to get a roommate or not. And I think now, like, I would definitely like be able to, or try to see if I can find a roommate, either like a traveling nurse, another co-resident that I can stay with, and that can stay with me, and just keep maintaining the rent like that, keeping my cost, or like my spendings, low as I can be, and then being able to build enough, I guess, capital to eventually be able to purchase. And probably I will, like, my car is a Honda Accord. It still works very well. I feel like it has, 5-ish, 10-ish years left in it. So, like you saying, like like having the delay gratification, like focus on the bigger picture, and hopefully being able to do this to sort of head start my journey to um, real estate.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, just hold yourself accountable. I mean, if you have a hard time saving money, what I used to do, or what I tell people, was like just automate it. Like the moment you get your paycheck, you just take $1,000 out. Let's just say there's 2 paychecks a month. You just put
Mhm.
another account, you don't see it. So the moment
Mhm.
you get your money, it just goes to another account. Because some people they're the type where if they see money, they want to spend it.
Yeah.
I was like that with real estate. I was like, if I see this money, I'm gonna want to buy more real estate. That was my problem. So you can automate it, but if you're disciplined, which seems like you are, like you
Mhm.
just do it. But like you said, you don't like just track your spending. So in the beginning, I used to know exactly like, oh, I spend 1,000 a month. Like this is much gas, this is how much on food, and then like it's okay if you fall out of budget one month. Let's just say 1 month you only save 1,000, then make up for it for the next 2 months,
Mhm.
right? Or like let's say you save 1,000 only, you're 1,000 short. The next 2 months you want to save another 500. So you can always like balance yourself out, right? So once you kind of set up that system, it almost becomes like automatic for me where I don't even think about it. I just naturally, that's the way I do things. So if you can do that over a long period of time,
Mhm.
just remind yourself like, yeah, my goal is whatever, $2,000 a month. Just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it.
And it'll
And
pay off in the end.
yeah, and it'll pay off in the end. And like I said, you're gonna waver, you're gonna be tempted, but like I said, hold yourself accountable. So maybe reach out to me in like 6 to 12 months, and then we can set up another call, and I could be like, well, at this point, you should save $12,000, right? If it's six
Mhm.
months, and then basically the answer is like, did you do it? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then like we can the strategy where I mentioned where you just automate it so you don't see
Yeah.
it. Because if you don't see the money,
Okay.
you can spend it, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that you in a year you keep me accountable and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So it's like the accountability piece of it. Um, and like for me, I was just because like I said, I could naturally just do it. I didn't need accountability. I just did it. That was
Hmm.
just, but I'm strangely, disciplined
Yeah.
in that. So, but if you do lose yourself discipline, just like I said, automate it. Paycheck comes
Hmm.
in that Friday, right away it goes to another account. You
Hmm.
know, and then basically like just periodically once a month log in and be like, let's watch it grow. It's almost like a game. It's like a numbers
Hmm.
game. Like, oh, I'm at 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 10,000, right? And then eventually you'll get to like 100,000. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can do that, like I said, it's you'll have a house at the end. Plus, be making way more than most people, you know,
Mhm.
and or even like if you're like a fellowship or whatever, you might even buy a house before you start fellowship, right? Because in 4 years as a resident, you might have saved up enough,
Mhm.
and then you can buy a house and whatever, do your fellowship and then make double that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. Like you're already better off than most people,
Okay.
in that situation between your saving mentality as well as like no student loans. Like student loans cripple so many people. And I know so many people who are like, oh, I don't have student loans. Oh, I just got a raise. I got $30,000 raise. They work at UCLA or whatever, and then they just bought a new Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, all right, now you're obligated to $1,000 a month on top of that.
Mhm.
Great, right? You just
Yeah.
spent the difference right there.
Mhm.
So if you can do that, and like I said, if it gets hard and tough, and you feel FOMO, and then just remind yourself, like, oh yeah, I'm saving for a house. Or write down a piece of paper, put it on the bathroom mirror, and look at it every morning to remind yourself why you're doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was definitely something that I need also right now, like where I'm at. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and be able to sort of like personalize my journey in this. And I hope that this can also help other people as well. So who are in my shoes too, so thank you again so much.
All right, Priscilla. No, thank you for hopping on and being so open and sharing your journey. I wish you the
Yeah.
best
Thank you. Have a good evening.
too.